Portrait of Elizabeth I, Queen of England by Anonymous, a splendid depiction of a powerful monarch. Elizabeth I, 1533 to 1603, was one of the most influential and successful rulers of England. She reigned from 1558 to 1603, a period known as the Elizabethan era, which was marked by political stability, cultural flourishing, and naval expansion. She is also known as the Virgin Queen, as she never married or had children, and as Gloriana, a poetic name that reflects her glory and majesty. One of the most striking and splendid portraits of Elizabeth I is the one painted by an anonymous artist between 1550 and 1599. The portrait is an oil-on panel, measuring 34.5 centimeters in height, 30.5 centimeters in width, and 5.5 centimeters in depth. It is currently housed in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, where it has been on display since 1885. The portrait depicts Elizabeth I as a bust, turned slightly to the left, looking at the viewer with a confident and serene expression. She wears a lavish dress that showcases her wealth and status. The open neck of the dress is trimmed with gemstones that sparkle against the rich fabric. The dress also features elaborate patterns and motifs, such as flowers, leaves, and animals, that reflect her taste and personality. Elizabeth I's jewelry is another focal point of the portrait. She wears pearls and gemstones around her neck and on her head, each piece telling a story of power and prestige. Pearls were a symbol of purity and chastity, as well as a sign of royal favor and protection. Gemstones were a symbol of wisdom and virtue, as well as a sign of divine grace and blessing. The portrait is full of symbolic details that convey the meaning and the message of the image. For example, the crown on her head is not just a symbol of her royal authority but also an artifact that encapsulates the history and the legacy of her dynasty. The crown was made for her father, Henry VIII, and was passed down to her by her half-brother, Edward VI, and her half-sister, Mary I. The crown also features the Tudor rose, a heraldic emblem that represents the union of the houses of Lancaster and York, which ended the Wars of the Roses. Another notable detail is the pendant that hangs from her necklace, which holds a miniature portrait of her mother, Anne Boleyn. Anne Boleyn was the second wife of Henry VIII, who divorced his first wife, Catherine of Aragon, to marry her. Anne Boleyn was the mother of Elizabeth I, who was born in 1533. However, Anne Boleyn was executed in 1536, accused of treason and adultery. Elizabeth I never knew her mother, but she inherited her intelligence and charisma. The pendant is a symbol of her love and respect for her mother, as well as a sign of her courage and resilience. The portrait of Elizabeth I by Anonymous is a remarkable example of the style and technique of the English Renaissance, which was influenced by the Italian and Flemish Renaissance, as well as by the native traditions and innovations. The portrait demonstrates the skillful use of the oil technique, which involves applying pigments mixed with oil on a wooden panel prepared with gesso. This technique allows for a smooth and flexible application of color, creating a luminous and translucent effect. The portrait also shows the mastery of anatomy and proportion, which was learned from studying the works of Leonardo da Vinci and other Italian masters. The portrait uses accurate and realistic depictions of the human face and body, as well as harmonious and balanced compositions. The portrait also uses expressive and lively gestures and poses, as well as subtle and nuanced facial expressions.